Hi, and welcome to Teaching Your Child's first course. Those who can, teach their children. It's all about what good teachers do and how they do it. This is the continuation of our evaluations module, and we're going to be looking at evaluations through questioning techniques. In this module, we're going to be covering types of questions, what are good and bad ones, waiting for effect, benefits of wait time, questioning errors, and cognitive skills. So what can a question do? As a parent teacher, you know that everything you do has an impact. You're aware of time constraints, impatience, that unnerving desire to check everything off your daily checklist. That can eat away at our original intent, to the point that we barely recognize what we're doing with our line of questioning. So let's refocus and look at our intent for teaching. The good Lord all gave us gray matter between our ears, and if you're watching, He gave you a desire to teach, shape, and mold. Let's review and recall our critical thinking skills and what carefully crafted questions and worksheets look like. So how's all this done? Well, let's look at some good questions and some bad questions. Actually, let's reverse that order. Let's look at some bad questions, why they're bad, and how we can make them better. First rule of evaluating through questions is to remember to phrase questions clearly and avoid asking vague ones. For example, if we're doing a unit on Daniel Boone, and this question comes up, how did Daniel Boone build a shelter? Seems pretty straightforward, doesn't it? However, which time are we talking about? And which shelter? So let's call which time A and which shelter B. And if we were to phrase it better, we would ask, when Daniel Boone was in the woods traveling between camps, that is part A. Boy, somebody needs to teach me how to use a stylus better. How did he build his protective shelter? And that is B. What type of shelter we're looking for? Now we're actually going to get what we're looking for our kids to know. So that's asking questions that are purposeful and focusing on the lesson's intent. If your intent, for example, is to teach about Daniel Boone's tenacity and character, then leave out those questions about what year he lived. Another rule would be to ask brief questions. Long ones are often unclear. For example, when Daniel Boone was elected to his first 3 terms in the Virginia Assembly. For those of you who don't know, that was my snoring. This does not work. Why doesn't it work? Well, this question, though it's specific, it contains too much verbiage and outlying detailed information. You want to be clear, not confusing by adding too many details. So a better question would have looked like this. Where was the last battle of the Revolutionary War that Daniel Boone fought in? When was this last battle? See what we've done here is we've separated out the questions and cut down to the pertinent info of our lesson's intent. We want to ask questions that are evaluative and thought-provoking. Some examples of some bad questions that don't do this would be, what tribe did Daniel Boone get captured by? And what were they like? Now, why are these bad? Well, this first one here, it's just too simple. And the second one, it's just too vague. So a better way of phrasing it, how do you think his time with the Shawnee changed Daniel Boone? All right, this question is asking for a different answer than the original. However, this new question here is provoking evaluative thinking. Remember, when you ask questions that are evaluative and thought-provoking, to not just wait for the answer and move on. Have a discussion. Don't accept just one answer. Make sure to debate and analyze with your students, even if you're having to play devil's advocate. The goal isn't to just get through question lists and tick completion boxes. It's to develop a critical thinker. Sometimes you're going to have to look answers up together. You're going to have to move around and take a walk. That's our favorite thing to do here. Discussing is going to achieve a deeper intent than just fact listing or multiple choice worksheets would ever do. All right, the next kind of rule of thumb we want to go with evaluating through questioning is to avoid asking leading questions, like ones that just require a yes or no answer. I'm chuckling at my stylus usage here. I promise I write a lot cleaner than this. All right, let's look at this question. Did Daniel Boone leave Kentucky and go to Missouri due to his financial problems? Yes, but this is not the only reason. Actually, he was frustrated with legal problems resulting from land claims. You could go on and on and on those debates. A better question would be phrased like this. What were the reasons Daniel Boone left Kentucky for Missouri? Phrasing the question this way requires additional thought and evaluation.